middle of a room and, sometimes put a face to it, put a gender to it, a name, take it from something that's impersonal and make it personal.
So, Belle, you take a blob of energy. That's a question or a statement. That you take this blob of energy and you translate that.
I basically tap into that energy, and by tapping into it, I will begin to see a visual imagery in my mind, and I can pretty much pinpoint at what point that energy is located. And I'm able to see images in my mind to be able to give a description. This is male, this is female. Or I can say this is a gentleman who has very grayed hair, balded on top. He's wearing a suit. Whatever imagery they show me, then I'm able to give that description. Mm-hmm. A lot of times your homeowners are going to recognize those descriptions as being a departed loved one. Mm-hmm. And they may share with me a name. They may share with me a memory that they have that's fond or dear to them, that sort of gives the homeowner a bit of comfort knowing that their loved ones are watching over them.
Well, let me just walk through this a little bit so I understand the process here. Mm-hmm. Shadow Chasers gets a call from someone who says, something's going on in my house, I can't explain it. Mm-hmm. Right? Yep. So you rush in with your tools and your experience and so on, and you sort through what you think may be these areas of energy, as mm-hmm. you describe them, yep. and you kind of pinpoint them, and then you talk to Belle, and Belle comes in and says, well, here's what I think that area of energy represents. Is
mm-hmm.
that kind of how this works?
Pretty much. And
mm-hmm.
what happens is when we find these areas with all the instruments, we have to document it. It's like it's located in this specific spot. So you take pictures of where the anomaly is. And then sometimes in those pictures, you'll see the apparition standing there waving at you, and you're like, okay, so that may be what that energy anomaly is. Mm-hmm. Or we have the voice recorders we'll set in that area. It's like trying to document it audibly and make it something back on that. At the same time, Belle's like, well, this person's saying this, and we have the instruments that say, this person's saying this, and we're like, okay, so that's what that anomaly is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm a skeptic, okay. and we talked about this last time. Mm-hmm. And, I want to express what I would bet is a fair amount of skepticism on the part of our viewing audience. But how do you really put something so intangible into a form that people can understand? How do you make it such that the person who hears something in the house or feels something that may be a draft or it may be a relative, they're not really sure. Mm-hmm. How do you translate all that?
9 times out of 10, by the time Phil, Kate, and myself get contact from homeowners or businesses, they already have had personal experiences with noises, voices, or doors opening up by themselves and so forth. So they're already prepared to say, tell me what it is, mm-hmm. because they're already having that experience. But if you're dealing with someone, or you're going to someone's home who isn't having that happening in their home, we're probably not going to find anything. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So it's a lot of times they're already having the experience. They're already sold on the fact that I know something's here. I just need you to tell me what, right. and who, and why.
But you would also say, this is a question, I'm framing this as a statement, mm-hmm. but it's really a question. You would also say, no, you know what that is? That really is a squeaking door.
Yes.
We've had that lots
right?
of times. I'd
yes.
say like 50% of all the houses that we've been called into, maybe not 50%, but a lot. They'll be like, well, in this, we've been hearing noises, we get this creepy feeling, and we'll go in there and they'll have really bad wiring. And so then we'll have to say, well, no, your house isn't haunted, but you have really bad wiring, and that's kind of making you imagine things or feel things that aren't there.
We did an investigation in a home in Messina, and the homeowner had said, we once had somebody else come investigate our home, and they told us there were some evil spirits in here, and we'd like you to come check it out and tell us what you think. I went into their home, and part of the home had an addition that had been built on by the previous homeowner, and assumably he built it himself. When I walked into the room, I kept feeling kind of a strange energy. Untrained, anybody would say, oh, that's some evil stuff. I feel that. But because as a medium and as a psychic, I'm able to communicate and read energy, so to speak, I could feel like the energy was crossing. It wasn't right. And so I looked at the lady and I said, you've got a problem in this room with the wiring. And she goes, I don't know. She said, you know, every time my husband comes in this room, he gets irritable and he gets mean, and the kids won't come in the room, and the dog won't come in the room. And so I'm sorry, but there's something in here. And I said, no, I'm telling you, there's something with the wiring. It's not, the energy is not flowing right in here. So I recommended that she call an electrician. And I kid you not, the day she had the electrician to come in, he poked his head up into the attic, looking through the attic, and a fire started in the attic from faulty wiring.
Oh.
And so
Well, in that case, your prognostication was perfectly right on.
Mm-hmm.
We have a viewer joining us with a question for our guest tonight, so please go right ahead.
Yes, my question is, with a medium...
Go right ahead and ask your question. We're on a bit of a delay. Let me explain that for our audience. We're on a bit of a delay, so if you listen to the television while you ask the question, that'll be difficult. So go right ahead. Sorry.
Why wouldn't they be able to work together in order to find the energy and see them?
You're asking if these folks work together to describe that energy and sort it out. Is that basically your question?
Yeah. Why would they not be able to find the answers to hauntings and stuff like that better?
Okay. Let's see if we can get an answer. Why can't you do this? What you do better? I guess is the question.
We're trying to be scientists. You're being unbiased. You come in. You don't say this is Bob's ghost. You don't come in and say, okay, I already know that this is haunted because the witness is telling me this. We come in with the gear and we go, we've got an energy anomaly that's here. This is localized, it's right here, and sometimes it causes this. If we're lucky, we get something on the recorders, something on the photos, that tell us that there's something else about it. That's why it's always a separate component with mediums.
I come in
and
with
psychics.
intangible evidence. In other words, I'm able to see and feel and communicate with something that other people cannot see, hear, or communicate. Whereas when Phil and Kate come in, they're using equipment on a scientific level to give them some scientific evidence. Voice recordings where they are actually seeing peaks and valleys when spirit is communicating. Photographs, as you said, videos. You know, they're able to give you the more tangible evidence as scientists, whereas I can only give you what only I can see
And I
or
think
feel.
we work better together too. You know, I think we definitely work better because Phil and I, you know, we see energy spikes, and sometimes you'll see an energy spike, and before you can even register that it's high, it's gone, and you don't know, did I just step heavy there? Did something jolt the meter? Is that actually something? And then when Belle's there, she can say, oh yeah, something just went by heading that way, you know, and so then we know it's not just a fluke. We can tell more accurately when we're getting something, and it's the same way with Belle. You know, she'll see something, and then we'll say, oh, we have a spike over here, or she'll hear something, and then we'll get it on the recorder, and it's like we validate each other, and that kind of gives our evidence more strength.
I may say, you know, I feel something over here, there's something very strong right here. They're going to know to turn their equipment towards that direction in hopes of getting their, you know, their recordings.
But you would describe this as not an exact science.
It's
Or how would you describe it?
well, it's basically we're sort of geophysics people. We come in, we're documenting the environment, we're site survey, we're doing entire environmental recordings, we're documenting everything that's there. On that case, without taking away the paranormal like connotation whatsoever, we're documenting your house. We're checking for like gas leaks, we're checking your wiring, we're checking everything that's in there. It's a complete site survey. In that case, it's fully tangible, it's fully scientific. What we find are the anomalies that are just free form. We're like, what's that anomaly?
Unexplainable.
We leave the anomaly part of it out, and that's where we turn over to the other side, and we have it completely segregated, but we still work together. It's like, she says
See, I'm a
this.
metaphysician. I have a PhD in metaphysics, and I have spent many years studying the very things that Phil and Kate and myself do. And somebody asked me one day, well, what the heck is metaphysics? And the only answer that I could give them was, well, in truth, metaphysics